Welcome to Nationalize. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. Good evening. Tonight we bring you a story that is already being called one of the most consequential legal decisions in recent American history. The Supreme Court has sent shockwaves through the nation, fundamentally altering federal employment with an 8-1 ruling that allows the president's executive order for mass layoffs to proceed. This landmark decision is reverberating through every branch of government, and its effects are being felt far beyond the marble steps of the court. This isn't just about job cuts, it's a dramatic expansion of presidential power over the federal workforce. For the first time in decades, the executive branch has been granted sweeping authority to reshape the very makeup of government agencies, bypassing many of the traditional checks and balances that have long defined the system. Tens of thousands of civil servants could be dismissed, reshaping the government's very structure. The halls of federal buildings, once bustling with activity, may soon be marked by uncertainty and silence as employees await their fate. The world is watching as this decision impacts the operational capacity of key agencies and introduces new unpredictability in U.S. foreign policy and global cooperation. Allies and adversaries alike are recalibrating their expectations, unsure how these sweeping changes will affect America's role on the global stage. The stability of the federal workforce, long a cornerstone of U.S. reliability, is now in question. For decades, these employees have provided continuity and expertise, regardless of political winds. Now, that foundation appears shaken. For the individuals who keep government running, processing benefits, ensuring safety, managing parks, this ruling brings unprecedented uncertainty. Their futures and the services they provide to millions of Americans hang in the balance. Tonight, we'll break down what this means for you, the country, and the world, examining the timeline, the agencies affected, and the real-world consequences. We'll also hear from experts and those directly impacted to understand the human side of this historic shift. The court has spoken, and the aftershocks are only just beginning. The coming weeks and months will test the resilience of American institutions and the people who serve within them. Let's explore how we arrived at this pivotal moment and what the future may hold for the nation and its government. The roots of this legal clash trace back to February 11, 2025. President Trump, fulfilling a campaign promise to drain the swamp, issued an executive order for sweeping reductions in force across federal agencies. The order, overseen by the Office of Management and Budget and the new Department of Government Efficiency, aimed to cut bureaucracy and boost performance. Agency heads were given broad discretion to eliminate non-essential positions, bypassing traditional civil service protections. Supporters called it overdue reform. Critics saw it as a politically motivated purge, threatening expertise and institutional knowledge. The backlash was immediate, with unions and watchdogs warning of a shift from merit-based employment to political loyalty. The stage was set for a constitutional showdown over the limits of presidential power. The executive order quickly landed in court. Federal unions and nonprofits sued, arguing the president was overstepping constitutional bounds by bypassing Congress to restructure the civil service. Judge Susan Ilston in San Francisco issued a nationwide injunction, halting the layoffs and calling the order an unprecedented overreach. The administration appealed directly to the Supreme Court, claiming the injunction harmed the president's ability to manage the executive branch. The legal fight now centered on whether the layoffs could proceed while litigation continued. The nation watched as the Supreme Court prepared to weigh in on the balance between presidential authority and judicial oversight. The stakes: tens of thousands of jobs and the future of the federal workforce. The decision would come swiftly, and with far-reaching consequences. On July 8, 2025, the Supreme Court delivered a highly anticipated answer to a question that had gripped the nation for weeks. The administration could proceed with layoffs even as legal challenges continued to play out in the courts. This decision came after days of speculation and mounting anxiety among federal workers, who had been waiting to learn their fate. The 8-1 decision was decisive, but it didn't address whether the administration's order was constitutional. Instead, the court focused on removing the last legal roadblock that had prevented mass firings from moving forward. The ruling was less about the merits of the case and more about the process, clearing the way for immediate action. The majority's brief opinion signaled skepticism toward the use of broad, nationwide injunctions by lower courts to halt executive actions. This reflects a growing trend in the Supreme Court to limit the power of lower courts to issue sweeping orders that affect the entire country. While the decision stopped short of endorsing the president's actions outright, it was widely interpreted as a strong show of deference to executive authority. Legal experts noted that the court's willingness to let the administration proceed, even temporarily, sends a powerful message about the balance of power between the branches of government. The case now returns to the lower courts for further proceedings, but for federal workers across the country, the threat of layoffs is no longer a distant possibility. It is an immediate and pressing reality. Notably, 2 liberal justices joined the conservative majority, highlighting a rare consensus on the need to limit judicial intervention in executive decisions. This cross-ideological agreement underscores the significance of the court's stance on the separation of powers. The practical effect of the ruling is clear. Federal agencies now have the green light to begin large-scale layoffs, reshaping the workforce and impacting countless lives. For thousands of public servants and their families, the legal debate has shifted from an abstract courtroom battle to a deeply personal crisis as the consequences of the Supreme Court's decision are felt in offices and homes across the nation. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson stood alone in dissent, her words echoing through the marble halls of the Supreme Court. In a sharply worded opinion, she refused to join the majority, instead raising a red flag about the consequences of the court's decision. She warned that lifting the injunction unleashed the president's wrecking ball before the legality of the order was resolved. Jackson's dissent was not just a legal argument. It was a plea to consider the real-world impact on people's lives and the fabric of government. Jackson argued the court was risking irreversible harm to the federal workforce and the separation of powers. She cautioned that once the damage is done, it may be impossible to undo, and the consequences could ripple for generations. She emphasized that civil service protections were created by Congress, not the president. These safeguards, she explained, are the result of decades of legislative work, designed to shield public servants from political retaliation and ensure a stable, professional government. Allowing mass firings by executive order, she said, erodes the rule of law and the structure of American governance. Jackson warned that such unchecked power could set a dangerous precedent, undermining the very principles that keep the government accountable. Her dissent provides a roadmap for ongoing legal challenges and a rallying cry for opponents. It signals to lower courts and advocates that the fight is far from over, and that the legal battle will continue in the months and years ahead. Jackson's warning, "The damage may be done before the courts can act," serves as a sobering reminder of the stakes involved. For thousands of federal workers, the uncertainty is not just theoretical, but deeply personal. Her voice, though solitary, resonates with millions facing uncertainty. It speaks to the anxiety felt by families, communities, and all who depend on a stable government workforce. The stakes, she argued, are nothing less than the future of American democracy. In her view, the court's decision is not just about one executive order, but about the enduring balance of power and the rights of every American. With the injunction lifted, the administration is moving fast to implement layoffs across 21 major federal agencies. Departments like State, Treasury, and Veterans Affairs are bracing for tens of thousands of job cuts. Over 20,000 probationary employees have already been terminated. Now, career civil servants are at risk. Estimates suggest 50,000 to 75,000 positions could be eliminated in the first wave. Criteria for dismissal remain vague, fueling fears of politically motivated firings. A patchwork of legal challenges persists, but the process is accelerating. Unions are scrambling to support members, but for many, the threat is immediate and real. The human cost is moving from hypothetical to reality. The Supreme Court's decision sparked fierce reactions. The White House celebrated a victory for executive power, while conservative allies hailed the chance to clean house. Unions and public interest groups condemned the ruling as a blow to democracy and vowed to keep fighting in court. Legal experts noted the decision's significance in shifting power toward the presidency and curbing judicial intervention. Federal employees expressed anxiety and anger, fearing for their jobs and the future of public service. online forums filled with stories of uncertainty and frustration. The ruling's impact is deeply personal for those caught in the crossfire. The nation is now divided over the meaning and consequences of this historic decision. This ruling is a political earthquake, strengthening the presidency and weakening civil service independence. Supporters say it increases accountability. Critics warn it opens the door to a spoils system. Economically, layoffs will hit communities nationwide, reducing spending and destabilizing local economies. The loss of expertise in key agencies could disrupt everything from financial regulation to public health. The debate: is a leaner government worth the risk to essential services? Globally, the decision may embolden other leaders to politicize their own bureaucracies. The long-term effect: a shift toward more volatile, less stable government administration worldwide. Tonight, we've witnessed a decision that reshapes Washington and the nation. The Supreme Court's ruling clears the way for mass layoffs, celebrated by some as reform, condemned by others as a threat to democracy. The legal fight continues, but the wrecking ball has been released. The impact will be felt in agencies, communities, and homes across America. The core question: will this lead to a more efficient government or cripple essential services? The future of the federal workforce and American governance is being written now. The consequences will echo for years to come. Thank you for joining us. I'm Lester Holt, and that's NBC Nightly News for tonight.